Story 1. Decision fatigue is the constant, low-level mental drain of making numerous small decisions every day. What to eat, what to wear, whether to reply to a message now or later, and how to word an email. Story 2. Having to work with that coworker can be challenging. You want to express your frustrations, but it is important to maintain a professional relationship for job security. Story 3. Loneliness is pervasive, even among couples. We smile and pretend we are not alone. However, Story 4. Perimenopause and menopause bring significant changes to your body after you have spent about 25 years becoming accustomed to it. Suddenly, everything shifts in subtle ways. While it may not feel like a serious health issue, it can significantly affect how you feel in your own body. It resembles experiencing a second puberty. Story 5. I would call daily meal planning and preparation a common struggle. Just deciding what to buy and prepare each day is a challenge. It's not a serious issue like an illness. It's more of an inconvenience. Story 6. If you have coins in your pants and take your pants off, it is impossible for the coins not to fall out at some point during or after that process. Story 7. I feel that one silent struggle many people face is the constant pressure to always be active and productive. It seems we are all expected to be hustling around the clock, and if we are not, we feel guilty or like we are falling behind. Story 8. Anxiety is something everyone experiences, but when I say my anxiety is crippling, I truly struggle to get out of bed at the worst times. Even on my best days, simple tasks like going to the gas station, picking up food, or taking my dog for a walk require an immense amount of energy. This frustration accumulates until I eventually shut down. Yet, I'm labeled as lazy for staying in my room all day or considered unkind for not wanting to socialize. It's exhausting, and expressing that my anxiety is bad today feels like just an overused excuse to most people. Story 9. Finding things to eat that are quick but not harmful, like 5 times a day, can be exhausting. Can we discuss the burden of how much we have to eat every few hours? That's so expensive. A snake can go a week without food, yet I have to constantly eat and ensure it's all healthy for me. I wake up, eat something nutritious, go for a walk, eat again, get home, eat once more, and in the afternoon I feel hungry. Just had dinner? Not quite, time to munch again. It's hard to sleep well with an empty stomach. Story 10. Having attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, can bring significant challenges. Many people believe that those with ADHD are just overly energetic and talkative, but there are many other profound issues associated with it. While it may not be prevalent for everyone, it is a significant struggle for me. Story 11. Time is always moving forward, second by second. At some point, we all squander it or look back and think, that was 5 years ago? In utter disbelief. It can be our best friend and our worst enemy, but it continues to march on regardless. Story 12. Having 4 cats and only 2 hands to pet them, but they all want love at the same time. So you're sitting there using your elbow and your head for as long as possible, but it's not sustainable. Story 13. Any kind of mental illness is serious. It has been treated as a joke for so long that many people are conditioned to avoid discussing it. We are making progress, but I feel we are still not where we need to be with treatment and support. Story 14. Uterine problems such as adenomyosis can cause intense cramps throughout the day, regardless of how many pain relievers you take. Story 15. Being surrounded by people who honestly have at most an IQ of 80. Functional, yes, but the nonsensical things that come out of their mouths. Story 16. I had roofers come to work today. They started at 7:30 a.m. and left at 8:40 p.m. All had headlamps while packing up. They were the hardest working crew I have ever witnessed. It was stressful to drive home, shower, eat, go to bed, and get up early to do it all again. I'm sure I'll see them again at 7:30 a.m. Story 17. The gradual decline of abilities due to aging is a battle that can be fought with a delaying strategy involving diet, exercise, and healthy choices. However, one cannot escape the inevitable. Small changes occur, such as feeling overlooked by attractive individuals, needing to purchase a jar opener, anxiously installing grab bars and a shower chair, and buying a pill organizer for daily medications. Story 18. The physical symptoms of depression. People often discuss how depression affects them emotionally or mentally, but not physically. Symptoms can include difficulty getting out of bed or not showering for several days. Story 19. Persistent anxiety and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Your body is in constant fight or flight mode while your brain is trying to navigate reality by filling it with all your fears. You feel the need to hold it all together with a smile on your face to appear normal. No one else knows the thoughts you are battling endlessly, and if you were to talk about it, you might be considered irrational or toxic. Story 20. For some, it is just waking up and not having the energy to do anything. Getting out of bed is a struggle. Depression, grief, and illness can feel like a 1,000-pound weight. Story 21. How much I want to just jump off a building and end it all. Why should I suffer when I am both my main problem and my solution? Story 22. Homelessness. When I was experiencing homelessness, I was working a full-time job. I never shared this with friends because I didn't want to burden them. I also refrained from discussing it at work, as I feared being judged or, worse, blamed. Story 23. Many people live with unimaginable pain every day. Others endure emotional pain due to divorces or breakups, while some are coping with the loss of a loved one. When I was younger, I believed that short-tempered or abrupt individuals were simply unpleasant. However, now that I am older, I find myself wondering about the challenges they face that contribute to their behavior. Everyone is dealing with something, but some are grappling with truly horrific issues that remain unknown to us. These silent struggles can be exhausting and depressing, and having experienced them myself, I find myself being more understanding toward others. Story 24. Us left-handed people often don't realize when something is specifically designed for right-handed individuals. We often attribute our difficulties to clumsiness. This occurs alongside situations where we are aware of the challenges but cannot use our left-handed tools. Additionally, some products simply do not exist in a left-handed form, and the ambidextrous versions are not always ideal. Story 25. My life is being affected by microplastics. I learned about them from the media, and now it occupies my thoughts constantly. Story 26. Staying with ill grandparents, parents who need emotional support, and being a college student preparing for exams is challenging. My grandma has dementia and tremors. She can't walk properly, one of her eyes doesn't work, and she struggles to process information. My grandpa has hearing difficulties. I do not view them as a burden. However, my grandmother's forgetfulness due to her condition has taken a toll on us. My mom, a housewife, is affected the most, and I need to support her emotionally so she can manage the household. If she falls apart, everything unravels, and I cannot do it alone. My father is mainly at work, but when he is home, he often struggles with anger issues. Despite all of this, I have somehow managed to complete tests, submissions, practicals, and project presentations back to back. I feel overwhelmed. It is very difficult. In 12 days, I have my semester exams, which will last another 14 days. I need to hold out for approximately 4 more weeks. Story 27. Jogging with a phone for music can be challenging. An armband can come undone. A carrier can lead to being hit repeatedly. A pocket is only useful if it's cold enough to wear a coat or vest. Holding the phone in your hand is annoying, especially when you also have to hold a water bottle. A clip can be too heavy. The MP3 era was the peak for joggers. Story 28. People who suffer from bromidrosis and hyperhidrosis, or who have both conditions, often face misconceptions. Many assume we are unhygienic or do not take showers or apply deodorants, but the truth is we are very conscious about our hygiene and typically shower 2 or even 3 times a day, especially in a tropical climate where it can be hot and humid. Our conditions lead to excessive sweating, which can cause unpleasant body odor that even strong antiperspirants cannot always control. We often face bullying, and some individuals become introverted, giving up their dreams and passions due to embarrassment and fear of judgment because of their odor and excessive sweating. Please be kind if you encounter someone with these challenges. We are silently fighting our own battles and insecurities and wish to be treated normally, just like everyone else who does not experience these issues. Story 29. Depression affects many individuals who struggle to identify their feelings. Numerous people experience clinical depression without being aware of it. Story 30. Having a family member with a significant mental health issue means constantly walking on eggshells, waiting for another crisis to occur, and never being able to truly relax. You look at other families living normal lives and realize that will never be you or yours. You struggle to talk to anyone in your life about it because, even when they are willing to listen, you know they won't understand. You can't talk about your loved one without breaking down, and you're tired of always being the one who breaks down. For me, it's my child, a younger teenager. I am so tired of meetings. Swim practices are now replaced with intensive outpatient therapy. I receive emergency calls at work when she has a mental health episode at school and needs to be brought to the hospital. She can't take family consumer sciences classes because the knives are too tempting. I see other kids her age dream, strive, and succeed, while the best we can do is just survive. I worry about what will happen when she turns 18. It is all overwhelming, and no one truly understands. As their parent, you don't want your child to feel bad, so you have to hide how disappointing and stressful it all is. It is incredibly difficult. Story 31. The utter absence of purpose. Every day is the same, wondering why, but we always rise to the task. The depression and loss of soul that come from the routine, all because this is how we are told it is. Story 32. The voice in your mind can be negative, filled with doubt, second-guessing, inventing problems, distracting, undermining, and worrying. Story 33. People judging you and talking negatively about you behind your back. I am always told to just ignore them. If you react, you fall into their trap. Story 34. Basic self-care is essential. People often do not realize that when you are deep in depression, even the simplest tasks, like getting out of bed to brush your teeth, can feel impossible. Story 35. Empathy, when the world is weighing you down at an incredible rate and you are surviving on auxiliary power, can be challenging. Being kind becomes difficult. Story 36. Living with childhood complex post-traumatic stress disorder, sexless marriages, chronic back pain, neurodiversity, autism, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, attention deficit disorder, bipolar disorder. Story 37. Getting older in the workplace can be challenging, especially when new leaders are appointed who may not fully understand how the organization operates or recognize your extensive experience from 22 years with the same company. Story 38. Pain is challenging. During my time in the military, I broke most of my body, and pain is difficult to deal with. Additionally, the constant ringing in my ears is bothersome. Both are invisible issues, but they are certainly not enjoyable. Story 39. The ongoing struggle to balance one's self-worth and accountability is challenging. Many find satisfaction by blaming others, but deeper acceptance is often found through painful introspection, especially when one decides to take action to improve themselves. Story 40. I have hyperthyroidism, which makes me perpetually hungry. I cannot gain weight because I burn energy immediately, and if I eat the wrong food, I quickly regret it. It also affects my hormones, so some days I feel overwhelmed if I do not take my medication. Story 41. Mental health, including depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and anxiety, is a topic everyone discusses. Yet those closest to you often remain silent. Sexual assault is another important issue that needs to be addressed. Story 42. To be honest, holding in gas when you're around others can be uncomfortable. However, having people judge you in general is challenging. Story 43. Feeling as though everyone else has everything together while you are lagging behind in life creates a subtle form of pressure that undermines your self-esteem. Story 44. Being left out of the group, even if you do not want to be part of it, can still create a desire for invitation or acknowledgement. Story 45. For women over 50, it is menopause, which can cause significant body pain, joint inflammation, and overall discomfort. Story 46. Compounding interest on loans creates uncertainty regarding the future of student loans and credit cards. Story 47. For me, it's anxiety. I finally decided I was done and sought help. Medication, along with meditation, has helped me tremendously, but it is still a struggle, and I keep it to myself like most who suffer. Story 48. The times at work when you have nothing to do but cannot let your boss know. Otherwise, they would give you more work. You try to look busy, but now you are just bored, and the day drags on even longer. Story 49. Getting in that car and turning the key, knowing that the next 8 hours belong to someone who makes significantly more money than you. Story 50. Chronic pain. I look completely fine, and you would never know because I do not advertise it, but believe me when I say that everything is a struggle. I have been awake since 2:45 a.m. because my pain woke me up, and now I have to face the entire day on very little sleep and much more pain. I am far from being the worst or the only person suffering. Story 51. When you finally find the time and motivation to go to the gym, it's filled with teenagers who just got out of college. Instead of a good 40-minute session, it turns into 1 hour and 20 minutes. Story 52. Not spoken about enough is underemployment. Many qualified individuals find themselves in underpaid roles that do not match their skills. Story 53. Having an addictive personality, I struggle with my addictions. I don't talk about it with anyone, but I find myself drawn to anything that numbs my mind. I am a functioning alcoholic, and I am also addicted to nicotine and pornography. Whatever I can do to escape my thoughts or enter a euphoric state, I will pursue. I honestly feel very ashamed about this. It feels horrible to see my coworkers and friends who can go to work and complete their tasks without needing a six-pack of beer to take home almost every day. I have many issues in my life that I need to address. Story 54. Those last few days before getting paid again were spent deciding between healthy food and gasoline. Thank God that situation is no longer a concern, but it was a long struggle. Story 55. What I once did not understand but know now includes issues such as abuse, homelessness, severe trauma, and legal problems over trivial matters. These challenges can feel insurmountable for those without financial means and the safety from sexual assault. For some people, facing these obstacles repeatedly is a harsh reality, often without any fault of their own. Life is tough. Story 56. Here are several experiences that people might relate to. Battling anxiety while no one notices. Grieving loved ones while continuing to live as if the world has not come crashing down. Mourning individuals from the past while being expected to move on and be strong for current connections. Constantly feeling inadequate despite numerous achievements. Feeling alone in rooms full of people. Experiencing chronic pain that is not visible to others. Facing pressure to be strong. Hiding mental health issues for fear of judgment. Appearing confident and cheerful while struggling with self-esteem issues and feelings of being a fraud. Carrying the burden of guilt. Acting happy in a toxic relationship while concealing unhealthy patterns from those who could help due to fear of disbelief or judgment. Overthinking. Avoiding conflict due to fear of the unknown. Feeling disconnected from family, friends, or a partner. Experiencing exhaustion from people-pleasing. Can be difficult to discuss these topics, and some may feel harder to address than others. Story 57. Forcing young children to attend a place filled with many other unpredictable peers and a few adults to learn numerous radically different and complicated subjects for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for over a decade is challenging. Traditional schooling is often more demanding than the majority of adult careers. While an adult interacts with objects and engages in simple conversations, a child must constantly learn unfamiliar concepts while managing difficult emotions in an environment filled with others experiencing similar challenges. Who designed this system? Story 58. Many people go through their day surrounded by others, at work, in class, at home, and still feel deeply disconnected. They smile, laugh, and make small talk, but inside, they struggle with the feeling that no one really knows them or would notice if they disappeared. It is not depression in the clinical sense, so it does not always raise red flags. However, it is a kind of emotional isolation that chips away at mental well-being over time. What makes it worse is that people assume you are fine because you are functioning. This silent struggle often goes unnoticed, but it is incredibly common and deserves more open conversation and compassion. Story 59. I think men often take for granted that many women come to work for a week each month experiencing significant pain from their periods. This is often because they don't have the available leave to take time off when it becomes unbearable, and period pain is generally not considered a socially acceptable reason to use leave. Women often rely on ibuprofen, acetaminophen, and other pain relievers to manage their discomfort and continue working. Story 60. Being overscheduled can make you feel like you are falling short with your children. Balancing work, family, friends, grocery shopping, meal planning, preparation and cooking, keeping the house clean, and managing kids' sports and extracurricular activities can be overwhelming. Story 61. Having premenstrual dysphoric disorder is similar to bipolar disorder but is closely linked to the menstrual cycle. Can be absolutely debilitating. For 1 week every month, I am a complete mess and cannot do anything about it. The gym does not help, therapy does not help, and medications do not help either. Hormone treatments? Who has the money for that? I literally just have to cry in the bathroom, suck it up, and put on a brave face while I feel like I'm setting my world on fire for a week every 3 weeks. It is incredibly frustrating. Can you tell I am in my luteal phase where I feel like I could burn the world down? Yes, that's it. I can unintentionally damage every personal relationship around me if given the chance. I have ended relationships lasting over 3 years during this manic-like week, not even knowing what is going on. And please don't criticize me, but this struggle began after I received my first COVID-19 vaccine. I religiously track my cycle and could not understand why, all of a sudden, my attention deficit disorder medications felt like they were ineffective for a week. I take medication breaks every weekend, so I have no tolerance built up. It is incredibly frustrating. Story 62. Holding in gas. We often discuss the ones that are released, but consider all the silent heroes enduring the discomfort for the greater good. Story 63. That feeling of discomfort when you wake up and your bladder is completely full, and you really don't want to spoil the first few minutes of the day by getting up. Story 64. I lost weight, and my pants slide down slowly throughout the day. I adjust them, but they also pull my underwear halfway down, so I have to retrieve those separately. This happens all day. Belts cost money. Story 65. Overall loneliness. I am very fortunate that my 2 best friends from high school decided to stay in our hometown. Otherwise, I would most likely have 0 close friends. Story 66. Having narcolepsy, my sleep patterns are very poor. Sometimes I get only an hour of sleep, go to work for 8 to 9 hours, and return home still unable to sleep. Story 67. Being overwhelmed by a destructive group of second-guessing, anxiety, and doubt. Context. I am a tattoo apprentice. Story 68. Loneliness can feel overwhelming. At times, you may feel fine, while other moments it can hit you like 1,000 knives. Please reach out to your friends. You have no idea how much it might mean to them. Story 69. I remember reading that Einstein had one type of suit, so he didn't waste energy picking one out. I also had a math professor who only had one outfit, which is not recommended if you care about how your surroundings smell. For food, consider a weekly cycling meal plan. You might also use a die for random decisions. For inspiration, you could read The Dice Man, but please avoid any illegal or dangerous activities. Story 70. I worry that this is as good as it gets. I see beauty all around me, but it feels distant. I want to see what my child accomplishes in life because he is wonderful. I love my husband and try to support him in every way I can. However, the world, love, and life that I used to enjoy seem dull now. Occasionally, there are pops of color, but everything feels overwhelmingly washed out. I keep going because I don't want to make mistakes and not finish things properly. Story 71. Consistency is important. Some people become disorganized and live day to day without direction, especially at work. For example, it bothers me when a coworker has an outstanding day one day and then underperforms or acts as if they are inexperienced the next day. Story 72. Relationships and communication within family, immediate or extended, can be complex. In my case, I have a challenging relationship with my mother, which is the best way to describe it. Since I can remember, my relationship with her has been rocky. I experience a lot of anxiety, sadness, and anger stemming from this situation. Story 73. Being so unmotivated that you're not even in control of yourself, you end up spending a day without accomplishing anything. Story 74. It's difficult enough dealing with reality, but then you also have to cope with how things could have been. Story 75. Chronic illness manifests in many ways. Not all disabilities are visible, and just because someone was okay yesterday or even an hour ago doesn't mean they feel good right now. Symptoms can be debilitating. Even after years of suffering, some of us who are able to function or cope with our illnesses can mask our pain in front of others. If you perform well at your job, you can't be perceived as that sick. If you ever need to take time off, you may feel like a burden. Just because we manage well doesn't mean it isn't heavy. I will always have multiple health issues, and I will always need to find a way to keep a roof over my head. I push myself harder than my healthy coworkers, and I can feel the toll it takes on me every single day. Story 76. When you have difficulty with bowel movements and you do your best to clean up, but then you experience itching in the anal area and you know what is causing it, yet you are at work and cannot do much about it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.